Nothing to do with you, Mother. It's between Alan and me.
You tell me to do.
You just do what I tell you, Monica, and don't concern yourself with anything else.
I take orders from you as I think is right.
So I heard about the court hearing this morning. What's it all about?
In a nutshell,
I don't care what it's in.
I am saying that father was absolutely senile when he wrote the codicil to his will. He'll be taking my car or yours.
Separate cars. I've had enough of you.
Wait a minute, Alan.
This is no concern of yours, Tracy. You were disinherited 9 years ago.
Not so fast. I want to know exactly what you meant when you said this hearing has nothing to do with me. I'm not going to let Alan do this to us.
Me, not us.
Wait a minute, Ned. You need me. You underestimate your Uncle Alan.
No, it's the other way around. Alan underestimates me. And I'll tell you another thing. I'm not going to let him bring charges up against Grandfather that might hurt Grandmother.
She's a lot stronger than you think.
I don't care. I still don't want to see her hurt.
Are you writing me out of your life?
No. You weren't as much as you ever were. Which, if you look back, wasn't much.
Do you have any feelings for me?
Of course.
You know, sometimes I don't know where to turn, Ned. If your Uncle Alan succeeds in taking away your inheritance, you certainly won't be able to... Never mind.
If you need someone to turn to, why don't you try Prince Charlie?
He doesn't have any money. Besides, he's giving the dragon bone back to the Chinese government.
Maybe they'll give something back.
Why should they?
You've already tried to talk Charlie out of it, haven't you?
I talked to him.
Well, hit him again if that fails. You can always try Nicholas Van Buren. Maybe you can persuade him to talk to Charlie.
Maybe he can have an influence on him.
Yeah. I'll get around. I don't want to keep Terry waiting. I'll see you later.
Hello, Monica.
Hello, senile. Don't you look great?
Oh, thank you. I was wondering, do you have a moment before lunch for a consultation?
Actually, I am free, I think, between about 11:30 and 1.
Good. You know what it is? There's this little boy, Howard Birch. I was wondering if we could discuss him.
Sure, I can.
Okay, can I have time to read his case history?
Absolutely.
Thank
Monica,
you.
please, can I see you for a minute?
What? Bob, excuse me.
Sure.
What?
You won't have time to do a consultation with Simone. You are due for the court hearing at noon.
Excuse me, but that does not concern me.
Yes, but it concerns me.
That doesn't concern me either, Alan.
Monica, will you listen to me, please?
Wild horses could not drag me to that hearing.
What about a wild husband?
Alan, you are a doctor. You tell that judge whatever you want to about Edward, but you leave me out of it. You Quartermains just fight it out.
You also carry the Quartermain name, Monica.
Would you like it back? I can make it available to you at any time. Excuse me, I have to see a patient. Amy, have the pathology reports come up yet?
Not yet, but they're on their way.
No, I'm just going to stand here and wait for them. Sometimes it doesn't pay to get up in the morning.
Are you having a bad day?
Maybe I'm just tired of being a Quartermain.
And a great deal of time, not to mention expense, can be saved by this informal, unrecorded, preliminary hearing by examining Alan Quartermain's charges. Come in.
Tracy.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I'm Tracy Quartermain. I'm Ned Ashton's mother. I didn't think that I was late.
That's quite all right, Miss Quartermain. Your brother said no one else was attending this meeting.
Yes, well, my brother was wrong. Darling, can I sit next to you?
Of course.
Hurry up, sweetheart. Come on. Thank you, dear. Oh, thank you, dear. Sorry, Your Honor. I'm really sorry.
I was saying that the point of this informal, non-recorded meeting is to hear what Dr. Quartermain has to say about Edward Quartermain's mental condition and competence when he wrote the codicil to this will shortly before his untimely death. Enormous sums of money are involved in this matter. It is my opinion that enormous sums of money have never brought out the best in anybody. A lawsuit over a will can take years and be painfully costly. What I think everybody would like to find out at this hearing is whether or not Dr. Quatermain has sufficient evidence to fight Mr. Edward Quatermain's last codicil to his will. Doctor, would you care to state your case now?
Thank you, Your Honor. Up until about 6 months ago, my father was in excellent health, both mentally and physically. Then shortly after the arrival of his grandson, my nephew, Ned Ashton, I began to notice a certain kind of change in my father's behavior. He began to soften up, for lack of a better word. It was unfortunate that at that time he developed a very bad case of the flu that he couldn't shake, and it was at this time that I noticed a very, very severe mental deterioration begin to take place. I mean, it got so bad that he went down to our docks with his grandson, supposedly just to fish for the afternoon, and he assumed that that was his annual fishing trip that he was to begin the following day.
Come on, that's not true.
You'll get a chance to speak, Mr. Ashton.
My grandfather knew fully well where we were.
Whether my nephew accepts it or not, my father was completely senile when he wrote the codicil to that will.
Alan, you're quite mistaken. My beloved husband was not in the least bit senile.
In outside chambers, I'd like to talk to Mrs. Quatermain alone.
You're not going to let Alan get away with this, are you?
Very much.
And if you please, I'll call you back in shortly. Thank you. Lila,
Dear Floyd,
you're still the most beautiful woman I've ever known.
and you're as dashing as ever.
Not dashing enough when Edward came into the picture. You never really knew how deeply in love I was with you. I was sorry to hear about Edward.
Thank you. And I was so sorry when your Marcia died. That was 5 or 6 years ago, wasn't it?
5. I treasured your note of sympathy. As a matter of fact, I still have it.
You do?
Yes. It has such a depth of understanding in it. It helped me, you know.
Oh, I'm so glad. And how about your family?
My 2 sons are lawyers, one in New York and one in Washington. My daughter lives in Paris. She's a successful dress designer.
And you never married again?
No, I never did.
So you're alone?
Yes? I find I don't like it. How did that happen?
Rather strange, wasn't it?
Yes.
Now, I think we should discuss the matter in hand.
You mean Edward?
Yes. Alan is quite mistaken. Edward was completely sound in mind when he wrote that codicil to his will. And he was in top form before he left for the Bahamas. I hope I'm not too late with this information.
No, you're not.
We had a lovely talk that same morning, and we laughed a good deal. I'm glad we had that laughter together.
You knew Edward better than anyone, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And believe me, Floyd, his mind was sound as a bell when he wrote that codicil.
I'm ready for you, please. As you may know, the law of this state stipulates that the spouse of the deceased and any living children are entitled to receive equal shares of the deceased's estate, no matter what the will states.
That doesn't include grandchildren, does it?
No, but you didn't let me finish. The law also gives some leeway to the presiding judge in these matters, and it is our solemn duty to try to fulfill the last wishes of the deceased. In other words, the ball is in my court.
But if we're each entitled to a third...
Not according to the will, and based on facts presented to me by the widow, it is my opinion that Edward Quatermain knew exactly what he was doing in writing that codicil. Therefore, in the interests of serving Edward's wishes, his last will and testament stands as written.
This is outrageous. You're flaunting the law.
I recommend you don't pursue this lawsuit, Doctor. You won't get anywhere with it, in my considered opinion.
Well, darling, you get it all.
That's the way it looks. Sorry, Alan.
You haven't heard the end of this.
Mother, can we drive you home?
No, thank you, dear. I have Jennings. But would you please tell him that I'll be along in a moment?
Lila, is it too soon to ask you out to dinner?
Well, yes, Floyd. I thank you, but I think it is a little too soon.